Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Lost in the Groove. Today, take a little cosmic trip and interview Cosmic Hippie. Yeah, baby. How are you?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Doing good. So tell me about yourself. First of all, love the name. That's number one.
Appreciate it.
Number
Thank you,
two,
thank
you're a musician. You play guitar.
Yes, I play four instruments. I
Oh,
play
wow.
guitar, piano, drums, and bass, and voice. So I guess five.
Wow. So you're one man band.
Yep. Try my best to be.
So what exactly, like, I mean, everybody has a beginning story of where their music starts. You know, what inspires them, you know, their favorite artist when they were a kid. What was your earliest experience as a musician?
Early experience. So when I was about five, if I'm not
Oh,
mistaken,
wow.
my mom put me and my sister in piano lessons. So I did piano from about 5 to 11. Then you go through that whole phase when you're a kid and you just want to be a kid and you want to be fitting in, and everybody else wasn't playing instruments. So I kind of dropped it. But then, through that, I learned how to read music, um, play piano, obviously. And then come middle school, I started playing trumpet in band. Then about halfway through the year, they was like, oh, we're going to move some people over to percussion. Who wants to do it? Obviously, who doesn't want to make noise and bang on some drums? So I went ahead and did that. And then I moved from Alabama to New Jersey.
Oh,
Um,
wow. That's a that's a
yeah,
big
so that's a
drive.
big drive. And we made that drive a couple times because like the summer before we just visited. So yeah, that was something. But by the time I got up there, they was like way more advanced in band when it came to drums. Like they was actually reading the notes and stuff. I didn't know how to do that.
Well, you know
So
why?
I moved back down.
You know why? Because like I'm from New York. I'm originally from New York, and I grew up like right next to Jersey. Anyways, listening to this, one of the coolest things that come out of Jersey is like there are bands that are like top finalists in the United States that come out of Jersey. And it's like I can
Yeah.
just imagine you as a young artist like coming there like, oh, that's
Oh,
so cool. Blew your mind.
it blew my mind because I mean we was in middle school and these kids are crazy advanced and I wasn't. So I ended up going from drums back to trumpet. Then the trumpet was too much again, so I kind of just dropped it from there. So
It's funny
yeah.
because like when you go from like one instrument to another, because for me, I'm an amateur guitar player. I play guitar and I'm also a vocalist, but I've never like picked up another instrument because I'm too fucking scared. But kudos to you. Like you're just like, nah, I don't feel this. Let me try something else. I could never do that. You know, like that is something like as a musician, like you got to take into mind, like, wow, I can do multiple things. And that comes in handy sometimes. It really does.
Very much, especially when it comes to like writing, because like since I started with piano, I kind of think in piano. I've heard like plenty of interviews where multi-instrumentalists will see their first instrument and then kind of apply that to every other instrument. So like for example, Dave Grohl sees the guitar as drums. So like when he's writing a riff, he's imagined it as like writing a drum riff. So it's kind of similar with me, but with piano. So I
I
feel like I
think
was lucky to do that first because it's easier to you can kind of say you could write a bass line on a piano pretty
right.
much and then just transfer that to playing it on the bass. You can come up with the chord progression and then transfer that over to the guitar. So it kind of just works itself out and you kind of just luck into it sometimes, I feel. So
Do you know who is notorious for doing this? Taking piano progressions and turning them to other Paul McCartney.
and that's one of my all-time faves.
Yeah,
So
Paul McCartney did like, and this is true. Like he even I don't know if you saw this. There was a documentary on Hulu a little bit ago with Rick Rubin, and
Yeah,
he
I saw
even
a little
showed,
bit of that.
yeah, like he showed that like you go da 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 da, and then you take those chords and you apply it to another instrument, and you just keep on going. And but when you take those same chords, they're gonna sound different. It's gonna sound different on the bass. It's gonna sound different on a guitar. So you don't know what you're walking yourself into.
No, but that's
it,
kind of the exciting part.
yes.
That's kind of the exciting part because you play guitar, so you know power chords sound a certain way. If you play it on the
Mm-hmm.
piano, it doesn't sound as cool. Um, but when you transfer that to the guitar or even on the piano, if you just play like a full chord, so if you play a C and you got the C, G, and the E, it'll sound cooler on the guitar
Minor
as
or
a power
major?
chord. Major. So like just say that you're taking just a triad on the piano. It might sound cooler on the guitar as you might be able to do a triad, or you might play an open C, or you might play a power chord.
I'm thinking
It's
of
it's
G.
weird.
I'm thinking. I'm just. This is musician head. I'm thinking of a G major because a G major on a guitar, and then a G major on a piano.
Yeah.
Ooh, that would sound interesting. Kind of like a little
Yeah.
bluesy.
Yeah. And the cool thing with guitar, is so many more notes being played. In like an open G chord, you got what, six notes ringing out compared to a piano. Most times you're just playing just the three. Um,
Right, and then if you're doing a G major, you have how many chords? You have three open, and then if you do the same
yep.
thing on a piano, how many? Where would a G major be on a piano? I'm actually now curious.
So with piano is pretty simple. Let me
Let's just take a
see. I
basic
think I have
piano. I love
I got
this.
a little mini keyboard in the closet. Give me 1 second to try to find it.
All right, let me see if I can. I have a guitar
Yeah.
here. I have a guitar here, so I can do a G major.
Got a little mini example. I never use this thing. It's actually very dusty. But so a G chord on the piano, I guess if you're watching this, you guys might have to flip it.
Yeah,
So you
hopefully.
have G right there. We got a G note right there. You got B and you got D. So that's what it would look like. I can't play it because it's not plugged into anything, but that's
Damn.
what it would look like.
Well, this is kind of what it would look like on a guitar, if you could see.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
I
that
like the
would be.
stickers on the guitar.
Oh, thank you. But yeah, so to anybody that is listening to this, we are explaining what it and the reason why I'm doing this is because it's actually very important to be able to understand music progression. Because when you like a singer, we all have like, oh, I love that, like that vibe, that groove. Well, we're explaining to you what that vibe and groove sometimes is and how they're able to create that. And I love this. Ah, oh, this is wonderful. So, do you do
Some might
this
say
with
we're getting lost in the
hmm?
and some might say we're getting lost in the groove.
Oh my god, I think we're already I think we're deep. I think we're gone, honey. We're so
I'm feeling
gone. So going from that, okay, so like for example, with your with song progression, being able to have your main instrument and taking chords from there, how did your song progression progress? I mean, evolve over time. Like, how are you, now making music differently than what you were doing before?
so I kind of just take it as an open-minded approach. So um let's say I just wake up in the morning and I have a melody in my head or something. 9 times out of 10, I need to put that down somewhere so I don't forget it. So I might just get my voice memos open and just like hum it or something, or I might go into the music room and try to, play a couple notes, or then I'll try to play it on the guitar, and then I'll just kind of start somewhere, and then the rest of it will kind of just happen. If it doesn't happen naturally, it usually just falls apart, and I'm fine with that. I don't like having to force it, you know. Um, but when it happens naturally, it's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
This reminds me of Bob Dylan.
I have to get into Dylan. I'm not gonna lie, I still haven't gotten into Dylan yet.
Mr.
And I really
Bojangles.
like,
Mr.
yeah, I
Bojangles.
gotta I gotta
Because
get. I
like
know that he's really as a songwriter, and
he
I really
was
need to look in.
he was like the little I know about Robert Zimmerman. That's his actual name is Robert Zimmerman. Um, he was yeah, he was like a pioneer in many ways of how you made like soft rock and folk and scandal of playing electric guitar. Oh, just sounded the same. It's just it was electrified. I always loved that. I was like, oh my god, it's just it's literally Bob Dylan, but just electrified.
And I know that the Beatles really, uh, look to him in a lot of aspects, and they're one of my favorites. So it's kind of only natural that I have to look into him
You're a
sooner than
Beatles fan.
later.
Oh,
Honestly,
you're a Beatles fan. Ah,
if I could, I
I
got
have
all
all
the
of their
Beatles
vinyls.
records on
I have
there.
every single one of them.
Same.
Yeah. Okay, we're
I don't
official
have one
Beatles
of them.
fan.
Though. I don't have one. I don't have one though. I didn't like Beatles for Sale, so I don't have that one.
Okay, I'm gonna also spill the beans. I do have Meet the Beatles, but it's a
I
new
Meet the
one
Beatles.
because I wasn't willing to pay $50 for no offense. It was just all covers. It's them covering other. I'm like, I'm not paying $50 for this. No.
Nah, there's only so many originals on that album.
The
At the
White
time,
Album
they was
though,
just trying to get stuff out.
the
Love the
White
White
Album
Album.
though, I decked out. I paid $175. I got a second print that came out in '69. I was like,
Jealous. I'm
yeah.
actually jealous because I only got the remaster of that one. So,
You got to get the original, man. You got to get a second print. Second prints are the good ones. First prints are going to be a fortune.
oh, without a doubt. So,
They're
does yours
like,
have the serial number on it?
yeah, I could pull it out. You want me to pull it out?
Go ahead.
Folks, we'll be right back. All right, we're back. So we got for our people that are watching this, but we're going to explain it as much detail as we can for our listeners. But we've grabbed some of our finals and we are going to share them to you. Ooh, okay, you go first.
You go first.
Beatles.
All right. So,
Beatles. Let me see.
this is a very, very trashed magical mystery. Sadly, it doesn't come with all the pictures inside. It only has a couple of them. So, like, I got those. I guess yeah, the first page, and then a couple of the other pages are
They're
just
missing.
ripped out. I got them. That's actually it. Oh wow, yes, only got these. I thought it was a little bit more than that, but then we got the record in here, actually in really good condition, I
That's
would say.
ooh, yeah, that's really
I mean, you can see
clean.
yourself in that. So
Well, there's a
yeah,
little bit of scratches, but you know that you can always use for for any of our listeners that collect vinyls, you can always get a solution. There's a roller that you can use, and it helps smooth it out. Even though if there's going to be a scratch and you'll hear it, but it won't bump over, so you'll run into. I hate that. You know when
and
it,
as to the character, of the listening
yeah,
experience.
it does. Okay, so this is mine. This is my White Album.
This
There's
is what I
really
wanted to
nothing to
see.
show because it's just a White Album. But
White square.
I also have the original inner piece as well. So like, let me pull this
I
out.
got that poster right there. Yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah,
up
yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah. So I have this is the original poster,
Wow.
and yeah,
I'm speechless.
listen, yeah, and I think it's like number 238313. It's just a but anyway, um, this is one of my favorite. This has to be one of my favorite Beatles albums because like it's so out there. It's just
It's eclectic. I mean,
yes,
people look at Sergeant Pepper and Magical Mystery Tour as experimental, which is true, but like White Album is
another
so all
level.
over the place. It's another level, and I love it for that. I love how long of the track list is. Like it does. I usually don't like long albums, but it works for me.
They're pretentious sometimes. Word of the day.
Yeah, I'll go into we got Pink Floyd here. I don't know if this is a hot take. I'm not a big fan of The Wall.
I don't know.
It's
I totally get that. I could totally
yeah,
get
like,
that.
and when I first got into it, I loved it. I was like, this is amazing. This is great. But then the more I listened to it, I just was like, well, when the boys come back home, does that need to be on the track list? Does like it's just kind of bloated in a sense, you know? And I don't know.
Dark Side of the Moon
Eh,
takes it. I love that you have Dark Side of the Moon because that's one of my favorites. It's it's beautiful. Oh, that's beautiful. Look at that.
let's give
Ah.
one more look to the people, one more look to the people.
You know, I will say this. If you want to know what kind of artists, especially like you're a multi-musicianist, if that's even a word, made that up. I don't
We'll
know.
go with it.
We'll go with
No,
it.
we'll run with it.
And a singer, and you make really great music. You could just
Well,
look at
thank you.
your collection and be like, okay, nope, I get it. Like, you got pretty good. I like this. You got a good collection. So what do
I
you
try.
like
I
about
try.
so like what are your thoughts about Dark Side of the Moon? Because I know you told me you don't like Brick of the Wall, Brick Off the Wall.
All right. So Dark Side of the Moon. That's actually the first rock album that I listened to. So it has a special place in my heart for that. I had a t-shirt in high school, you know, everybody has one with this on it at some point in their life. And this girl was like, oh, do you even listen to Pink Floyd? And I was like, I'm never ever gonna listen to any of that. I was being closed-minded and everything. And then one day I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna listen to it. First listen, I was sold. Um, Everything about that album is it goes without saying, honestly. I mean, I'm just gonna be stating the obvious. But the fact that, you know, music can have meaning and still be listenable without it being like preachy and oh, this is what life is about, and money and war and all of this stuff. But yeah, it really just goes without saying it's the dark side of the moon. I think that says enough.
Nice segue. I love that. And it's a great example of like Roger Waters. He is very, very misunderstood, because he's not a political person. People view him as but he's not. He's just like, what about the people? Well, what do the people need? And it's like you go back to understand that Pink Floyd is not telling you what to do. They're stating
No.
that how can we better take care of each other? How could you take better
They're kind
care
of
of
just calling
yourself?
out, kind of just
Yeah.
calling out what's going on instead of saying, hey, you need to do this with your money. You need to do this with your life. You need to be this. No, it's just kind of calling out what's going on in like a musical sense, which is, you know, shout out to them for that.
Yes, it is. So this is mine that I have, and it's okay. I'm gonna explain this. It's Umaguma.
I say, is that Uma Guma?
I think
Nice.
I think this one is like a third or fourth print, and it's in okay condition. You can see like the
Looks pretty good.
yeah. Um, this is not my favorite album. Actually, this is my least favorite album. I don't like this album.
I say, I think a lot of people would
Why
agree
is
with you.
this one of my favorites, and it's also my least favorite? Because of how experimental this is. If you listen to this, you're like, these people must have been on a lot of drugs for a lot of hours to do this. Kudos to them that they were able to make this album. So I really support that. So that's why I love it.
Well, not just anybody can make that album though. So it's like
No.
it may not be your favorite. You can at least, like you said, you know, it's out there. So kudos to them for that.
It's not a terrible album. It's a great album. It's just really weird. Like you're talking about Dark Side of the Moon, where you could take Dark Side of the Moon and watch The Wizard of Oz and have an absolute amazing experience. Whereas with
Yeah.
Umaguma, it's like you sit there like, oh my God, am I gonna die? Oh my God, I'm so happy. Why did I die? It's just insane of amount of emotions hitting you every single second. So that's what you mean. Like it's out there. It's just a very out there album.
And again, not just anybody can do that. Somebody can sit there
No,
and just say, "Hey, here's a bunch of random sounds, and it's gonna make you feel a certain way." But no, no, that's not how it works. You know,
uh-uh. People may believe that, but they don't know.
eh, rarely works out. I
So,
got one more to show you. If
yes.
you, I brought an extra.
Oh,
I know we only said two.
no,
I
no,
was
no,
gonna bring four, but
no. I
I'll
love
introduce
surprises. Oh, come on, honey. When Christmas comes, I'm gay and giddy all over the place. I'm
This is my
serious.
first original copy. Boom, animals.
Oh, get the fuck out of here. That's a first print?
It's the first print.
Oh,
Um,
oh my
everything is
god. Do you
ordered.
know how much
Let's
first
see.
do you know how much first print Pink Floyd's are worth?
An arm and a leg.
Just go on dislogs.com. Oh,
See, I
wow,
haven't looked at this thing in a minute, but have you seen it? The
that's in really
quality
good
is,
condition. Yeah. Oof.
and I've listened to it a couple times. It's not the thickest, they wasn't printing the 180s like that back in the day, but this
No,
it sounds great.
it's the late 70s. I mean, I have 80s, I have 80 vinyls like Kim Carnes, Pat Benatar, Blenda Carlisle, Billy Idol. I have like a couple. They're it's like a piece of paper. I'm not joking. It's like you pick it up and it's terrible, but
Wobbles.
it's crap. But like that's just the unfortunate reality that records were coming to an end at that point, but it's okay. We love them anyway.
And they're back now. So just about anything you want is out on record. Go to a record store, get them online, wherever.
Question for you. Do you have your music on any records?
Not yet, but I'm trying to work on that. As one of the things I'm currently trying to work on. Because printing records are expensive, but I really love having physical media. Like that's one of my favorite things. I don't like everything to just be digital. So I'm trying to figure out a way
Well, you
to either
can.
put a single out
My suggestion would
or
be is there are people that are independent that work in the record industry, like record printing industry. Try to reach out to one of those people and see
yeah.
if you can collaborate and be able to get your music. Because the thing is that like with records, I feel that allows artists to stand out is you're making a message of saying that, like you just said, I make digital content that's great, but I'm actually a real artist. So here's my music, and go support me if you want to be able to
Yeah,
listen
and
to it.
it's cool to have something like when you have this, it becomes personal, you know. You make memories with this. You remember when you put it on the player. You remember when you got it. You can look at the album cover. When you're listening to it on your phone, it's just so quick. You press play, put it back in your pocket or whatever. And it's just something really cool about, owning that. So I'm definitely trying to, extend my music to the people that want to hear it, so they can have it, as a personal thing.
So I already I already have it. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but the genre that you primarily work around with is like psychedelic rock.
Yeah, I would say I like to go under the umbrella term of
Ooh.
alternative because just about
Ah,
everything can fall under.
yes. Mm-hmm.
But the psychedelic thing, I try my best. I'm trying to see. I have my phone somewhere with me. I sat it down, but I recorded my whole last album on my phone, so it was kind of fun challenge to try to be like, all right, so how can I get some psychedelic feel without having but too many effects that I could really work with. So definitely was trying to go for that more of like I guess a 70s kind of psychedelic thing. Because I didn't really have any
Have
synthesizers to work
you
with. So it
have
really
you ever heard
like
of
the guitar.
if you ever heard of Hot Chocolate?
I haven't.
Okay. They're a soul band that one of my favorite songs by them is Emma. They're really famous, but
Okay.
they're called Hot Chocolate. Um they're you would like they're very heavy on bass
I love
and
bass.
guitar
I love bass.
riffs. And they have some songs where I have like the head like the I'm sorry to all the piano people out there. I'm sorry. What do you call it? The sharp. It's not sure called sharp C. It's like
So
if I wish I could
start.
play their music so I could show this, but you understand what I'm saying. I'm sounding like Chinese, and it's just
Hey, we're lost in the groove. I'm completely with you. We're here with it. So, yes.
But yeah, Hot Chocolate would be one band I would tell you to listen to, and I'm trying to think of one more. Ugh, give me two hot fudges of a sundae, and I'll be right back with you. But yeah, definitely Hot Chocolate. But like, so how do you view psychedelic rock? Because I understand that you go under the term alternative, but you lean towards that. Like, what makes you lean towards that?
So one of my favorite artists of all time is Tame Impala. He was big inspiration for me, even wanting to learn all my instruments. And uh, he kind of takes psychedelic rock in a couple different directions to where it doesn't have to be so in your face. This is psychedelic and this is trippy and all of this stuff is going on. Just having like a phased guitar, electric guitar come in, with a drum beat that you can just kind of get lost in. Um, so that was like a big inspiration to me. Some of the Beatles records, um, Magical Mystery Tour is pretty trippy. So that was stuff like that. I just find really interesting because you kind of just get lost in it. That's why I really like it. So
It's a different direction of how music was made,
yeah,
because people forget psychedelic. This is gonna blow some people's brains. Not all psychedelic rock is inspired by actual drugs. Psychedelic rock is also about the psychedelic experience, which you can have without doing hallucinogenics. Surprise. Um, and the way to do that is to be able to create connections between people. The thing about artists like the Beatles and um, the Stooges, for example, and David Bowie and um, the Who. Okay, I love the Who. I fucking love the Who. These are all people and bands that took this idea and took it to another level. Because, like you said, like I love that idea where you don't need direction. Sometimes you just need to be able to get lost and allow yourself to figure out where you want to go.
pretty much. Yeah, I think that's what it's all about, honestly. Because I think when stuff is too scripted and too planned out, and I'm gonna do this, sometimes it works, but then you kind of, I feel like you're too conscious of the moment instead of just living in the moment, you know, and you're
And
too worried about, oh, I have to do this, and then I have to do this, and then
right,
I have to do this, just kind of naturally letting it flow. I think that's the best way I can say that. Yeah.
it is, and it's really a way of allowing people. I I'm always inspired by artists. I am an artist myself. But the thing that inspires people about artists is the way that they have become who they are, the music that they make, the instruments that they play, because their story that they're telling you is from their life. You know, not all music is truth. Some of it is just stories. Some of it has real good meaning. And
Yeah.
find that as
That's what it's about. No, go
Hmm?
ahead.
No, I was gonna say like about your album because you said you just finished up your album. Like, is this like your official album? Like your first?
Yeah, that's my first official album.
Wow, 12 tracks.
Yeah, it was I forgot how many's on there. Again, I don't have my phone. I think it's 13 on there.
Wow,
It was 13.
that's a lot of work.
Yeah. Decent amount. A lot of the songs, like I said, would just come spur in the moment. So say I just get off of work and then I had a riff in my mind and then I play it and then I'm like, oh, I could do this, and then I could do this. Oh shit, I got a song. you know, and then I just write to it, put some vocals, do the whole producing magic, and then boom, you got a song.
Yeah, but
So
making an album is a big accomplishment. You know, it it's
yeah,
it's it shows a level of respect. It shows a level of responsibility on your part because a lot of art. I had this conversation before. Like, there's a lot of artists that just do singles now, and I'm just like, how do you call yourself a a singer or an artist when you can't even make an album? What kind of portfolio you're going to be like? So here's just a bunch of papers, a bunch of songs that I did. It's not a
yeah.
professional. I'm not trying to be old school, but like any person that listens to music, what do you want to see? I'm asking you, like, what do you want your people that are listening to your music, like, what do you want them to see?
Well, I think, like you said, it's about having an album because it's an experience. With a single, it's cool. We all have favorite singles. We both like the Beatles. There's Paperback Writer. That's not on any album. I Feel Fine. That's not
Paperback
on any album.
writer, paperback
Yeah.
writer. Oh God, I wish I could play that on here. I'm sorry.
Nah, it's all good. That's a great
Shout
one.
out.
But
Yeah.
it's an experience to listen to an album. It's cool to get lost in it. It's cool to see how the tracks flow between each other. It's cool to have a definitive intro, a definitive outro. You know, the album cover. It's just so much that goes into it. To where, like you said, it's an accomplishment. I try my best not to pat myself on the back too much, but like it's a lot more work to put together an album and think about the sequencing and think about the flow as compared to hey, here's just a single I recorded about a week ago. Here you guys go. Here's a song. So yeah, I just think I want, when people listen to like my work, I just want them to understand the full message and just kind of get lost in the music.
And be able, and also like be able to have your own portfolio. Like,
Yes.
we, the beauty of, like, for example, like we brought up the Beatles and Pink Floyd, their albums is their portfolio. We have their albums and are able to listen through the music. Like, look, I'll be honest. One reason why people love singles is like sometimes people don't like all the songs in an album, and it's okay. Like, people have their opinions. Some songs they like and some songs that they don't. But you're not gonna know until you listen to it. So
Yes. Because some people, like you said, they just like the singles. They're like what they hear on the radio, or they're like the music video that came out or whatever for it, and then they just won't listen to the rest of the tracks. So like, let's say Nirvana, right? Smells Like Teen
yes,
Spirit, Come As You Are, Lithium. Those are huge songs, but then you still have, In Bloom is amazing. The whole album is amazing. So if you just listen to it, I mostly find that my favorite songs aren't the singles usually, in most cases. Um,
same.
so, and again, I don't knock anybody on how they choose to listen to music
Mm-mm.
because that's what it's there for. It's there to be digested however you choose to do so. But I would, challenge people, hey, instead of looking at the greatest hits album, check out a couple of their, well-renowned work so you can get a feel if you like the rest of it. Because if you like this song, you'll likely like more of them. So, yeah.
And the reality is, a lot of people probably even listening to this are people like me that work a 9 to 5, come home exhausted, and just want to go to bed and do the same rotation every day. And like, here's the thing: if you want to have a little some spice in your life, being able to get into music, maybe invest in getting a record player, and when you come home, you put on a record or something like that, or maybe invest your time in listening to a whole album, like, for example, Cosmic Hippie. Just saying. um, but it's a way of adding experience to your life that already has been proven that music is beneficial. It is healthy to people to have that added to your life. So if you're one of those health nuts, here's your excuse. I could keep giving you excuses, but the point is that you can have a really great time and get lost in good vibes and the groove, man, even if your life is in a rut. You feel it's
Yes. Yeah. And that's usually what helps, in my opinion. Music that you like. Uh, You find an artist that you can really just resonate with. It feels like they're speaking from your perspective, and it kind of helps you put things into perspective sometimes. So yeah, I agree with you on that. I think everybody should, because life is a lot. Like you said, working 9 to 5, you just kind of get caught in the loop of just not existing, but just going through the motions, and something as simple as just listening to some music or challenging yourself to a different genre or whatever, it could really help. So
And it really allows people to have a different shift in perspective in life, because the only person that's stopping you is yourself. So if you want to be successful at something, and the thing is, no one says being successful at anything is easy. No one says that it's a quick
no.
trip, and no one says that it's not going to be hard as fuck, because it's going to be.
Yes.
But are you going to be the person that's willing to put in the work, even if you're not seeing exactly what you want to see?
And that's really what it comes down to, that and not making excuses or becoming a victim of your situation. Just because you work a 9 to 5, you still have hours in the day that you can put into a craft, whether that's music, whether that's in art, whether that's podcasting, whether that's um say you want to cut grass, that's your passion, you know. Um there's no excuses because everybody that's made it didn't make excuses. We'll keep bringing up the Beatles, I guess, this entire conversation. They wasn't well received at first when they first came out, and they was in Liverpool. They had to
Even
go
in
over
the
to Germany.
70s, even in the 70s. And people forget this. Like when the Beatles broke up, no one talked about the Beatles in the 70s. Like you talked about the Beatles, so you love them. People beat the fuck out of you. They beat the literal shit out of you. I know this because I know people that were around in the 70s and told me this. So people's shift in progression and ideas of things have changed over time. Adding to your point, it's view it as you want it to be. But the
Yes,
only, again, like it goes back to the only person that's stopping you.
it's yourself. You gotta look at yourself in the mirror, and just realize that making excuses isn't going to get you any closer to it. And then 10 years later, you'll say, oh man, I actually had some free time that I wish I could have invested into myself some more. So yeah.
At least we're both investing our time wisely. I feel,
Yes.
yeah, I feel it.
I'd like to think so. Yeah. So kudos to you. Congratulations. I'd like to give you a round of applause.
Oh, thank you. Well, I will say this: it's kind of like it's kind of like a trip, because so many times people have such a hard time being able to stay on schedule and being able to stay focused. And
Yeah.
you gotta be realistic. Like the world right now, and just in general, is chaotic. I mean, you got everything hitting you at once. Um, so like there is like this sense of honesty and compassion that needs to be taken in with people, that we're not machines.
No, nah, not at all. And you can't overwork yourself. So it's all about, like you said, perspective and being realistic about how crazy everything is. And then another thing that you can't do is compare to somebody else. You can't look at something that I always like to say, you can't look at somebody's chapter 10 and you're on chapter 1, and say, oh, I'm not successful because they're doing this and they're doing that. But we all have our own things that we go through. We all have our own reasons for where we are. So it's about making something out of that and then growing, instead of looking at somebody else's success and belittling your own little victories, your own little successes. So, yeah.
And people forget that the people that were successful, what they had to go through to be able to be there. You know, I recently got into, I love Etta James. Okay. Whenever I need to just like scream on top of my lungs, I just put on Etta James. And people
We all
forget
need that
about,
every once in a while.
people forget about her in the way of how she was treated her entire music career. Everybody's like, oh, she was fabulous and glamorous. But you know what she had to go through to be able to do what she needed? And
And
people
then
for
that's just like women in the industry in general. They have so much that they have to go through behind the scenes, no matter what the industry is.
throwing
But
at them.
people don't.
People forget that sometimes there's a cost to being successful. Even though you see a pretty picture, there's a price that people always must pay. I don't make the
Oh,
rules.
that's just life. I
This
mean,
is
if you're famous, if you want to be famous in whatever you do, you have to realize that if say you have 1 million followers on Instagram, that's a lot different than having 1,000 followers on Instagram. You can't go, some people can't go to the store anymore and just shop like a normal person could because they will be berated by people. There's people that have their personal space invaded whenever they go out in public, and people's taking pictures and trying to touch them and all of that kind of stuff. And that could take a toll on a person because we as humans wasn't really made for that, for all of that attention. So that's a lot to deal with. Or I wouldn't know, but I can assume that that's a lot to deal with.
the way that I've always viewed this is I've said this before on the show. This podcast, it was inspired by three musicians, mentors: David Bowie, Freddie Mercury, and John Lennon. And all of the three of these people died tragic deaths. Every single one of them.
Yes.
David Bowie died of liver cancer. Freddie Mercury died of AIDS and pneumonia, and John Lennon was assassinated. And I don't want to get all depressing, but what you learn from these people is what they gave to the world. What you give of yourself and what you create is all that you have to offer. What happens in your
Yeah.
life, what happens to you after death, it's no longer anybody's
No longer
responsibility.
yours.
No, it's the
Ah,
world's now.
yep. I must say I'm depressed now after that. I'm just but nah, that's actually something that I was thinking about either just yesterday or the day before. But everything that we do is leaving a legacy for ourselves. The three that you just named, they've left a permanent mark on the world with what they've created. Um,
Think
they've
about this.
changed
They
life.
inspired this, and they're all dead, and they're not alive anymore, and this exists. So
And now we're talking like
yeah,
it's actually really crazy to think about from that perspective. Wow. Jeez.
it's a
So
it
yeah,
it's it lives on after death. Because the thing is, the music you're making now, and the levels that you're going to be going up to once you're no longer here, doesn't matter what happens afterwards, but just the thought of like you literally can be inspiring people for generations.
so many years and so many decades after somebody's gone, the fact that they can still leave an impact is just it's
You may
crazy, you
inspire
know?
like you may inspire an artist in 5 or 6 years, then they make music, and then it just keeps on going.
Yeah, which is that's really my whole goal with everything that I do. My whole thing with whether it's music, whatever creative endeavors I get into, it's all just to inspire people to just do what they want to do and live the life that they want to live. Because we get caught up in, especially in the social media age, we get caught up in the aesthetic of life and what life should be. So we see a content creator, we see influencers, and we say, oh, that's what I need to look like to be successful. I need to have that kind of car, I need to have these kind of clothes, I need to do this filter, I need to have my hair like this, when life is so much better when you're just yourself and you do what you want to do. You listen to what you want to listen to, you wear what you want to wear, you hang out where you want to hang out, you're with the people that you want to be with, and you just, life is so much better. And you just, life is so much better when you're just yourself and you do what you want to do. You listen to what you want to listen to, you wear what you want to wear, you hang out where you want to hang out, you're with the people that you want to be with, and you just, kind of go from there. That's just my whole thing. I just want
Can,
people
can
to be themselves.
can we give an example of if you go on Cosmic Hippie's page, he has one of his songs where he is by a lake or bayou or swamp of some sorts, wearing a t-shirt and jeans and playing guitar. So yeah, that's the best example just popped in my head.
And that was such a spur in the moment thing. I just was like, I'm about to put the album out. I'm going to record a video, and I wanted to be by some water. I know where some water is at. Let me call up a friend, and you make it happen. Record it on my phone, edit it in iMovie. You know, just do what you want. That's the whole thing with life, I think.
I love that. I love every moment of that because it's like spur of the moment, the eyes of ecstasy, the the way that you're just able to be yourself. Because the thing is, with the age of social media, you have so many people telling you what you should believe and what you shouldn't, that it leaves very little room for you to think of your own opinion. I'll be honest, like it is hard to be fully open minded. Am I a fully open minded person? Probably not.
At least you're honest. Some people aren't honest about that. So, shout out kudos again. I gave you a round of applause earlier. Round of applause for honesty.
Thank you. What about yourself? Like you seem like an honest and open minded person.
Yeah, I'm very easygoing, very just again, I'm all for people doing whatever they want to do. So because we all are on our own journeys, we all have our own stories, and we're all the main characters of our own life. Who am I to tell that person over there what they should do? Who am I to tell that person that they shouldn't be with somebody, or that they shouldn't have that job, or that you need to get a real job, or you should be wearing this? I have no authority over that, because if somebody was to tell me what to do, who gives them the right to tell me? So what gives me the right to tell anybody else? So I would think of myself very open-minded, just because we're all on our own journeys. So
People forget that when you voice your opinions, I was listening to this recently. It's called the Whatever Podcast. It's insane. I mean, these people are like another level of terror. But anyway, there was this girl that was on there, and she states that women have been oppressed since the dawn of civilization. And one of the commenters that were there, he responded back to her and said, can you explain to me, where do you come up with that conclusion? And response was, well, if you don't know, then I can't tell you. Like you, and he responded back to her and he was like, but I'm asking you, and you told me that this is fact. So I'm asking you a question. Where do you come up with this as fact? And she could not come up with a reasonable answer. And I just ask myself, like, is it that hard to be able to just answer a simple question?
it shouldn't be. Shouldn't be.
This is not a
it
hard
shouldn't be.
it's not a hard human task to answer a question. But for some reason we've
No, because that's
managed
how
to
you
get
reach
here.
solutions. That's how you reach solutions, is through communication, through talking about it. How can I understand your point of view or something, or your standpoint on a subject, if you're not willing to explain it? If I'm just throwing out blatant statements, um, how can I expect someone to understand where I'm coming from, to get an understanding of it? That doesn't make any sense.
And again, like, it's kind of the twist where, because now you're able to see this. This is on social media. It pops up on your feed. And again, you make the choice. Do you want to have your own opinion? Or do you just want to say, well, this doesn't really matter. This doesn't really have anything to pertain to me. This doesn't affect my life in any way. You need to be able to, I feel like in many ways, people today kind of forget what it is to live in an analog world. they forget of what it was like where we did not have smartwatches, we didn't have iPhones,
Social media.
none of this. And in many ways, like, I'm grateful for this because if anything ever happens, you're a click away to talk to someone. We could do this, which did not exist 20 years ago.
You'd have to have a radio or something like that,
like broadcast. It's crazy to think if I wanted to do this about 25 years ago, this session alone would have probably cost me $10,000.
Yeah, and I would have either had to call you in or I'd have to fly out to the station.
Somewhere to do the recording. And like, this is the amazing thing about technology and the way that, like, to be able to appreciate it and not to abuse it. Because the thing is, if we want to be able to express ourselves, be able to get our messages out, you cannot force your opinions on people. I cannot express this enough. It's like, it doesn't work. It never will work. It's not how our brains, I don't even know.
It's not how they function.
No.
It's not natural. It comes down to understanding that everybody's not your audience. I understand that not everybody is my audience. I'm not going to go to, somebody that's not into rock music, that's not into alternative or whatever, and be like, hey, you're going to listen to this and you're going to like it. No, you don't have to. I'm going to find somebody that does and work towards their needs, Same with you. You're not going to go to somebody that's looking for some, let's say, fitness podcast, right? And saying, hey, you like fitness podcasts, you'll love me talking about music. If they don't, they don't.
No.
Unless you want, I got some weights. We can start lifting now. We could hit the push-ups.
Oh yeah, and we could do some ohms and meditation. Get some candles. Get some incense on. Yeah, it'll be a sesh. Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
We're not actually doing that. This is 100% a joke.
Oh no, I already got my people to start working on it. My people are reaching out to your people as we speak,
damn.
Actually.
Damn.
Working on scheduling.
Fuck.
So
all right. I guess Lost of the Groove is now a fitness podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, we're getting lost in a different groove.
Yeah. Lost in the fitness. Yeah, lost in the muscle. Yeah. God, that sounds awful. But anyway, I honestly can't say enough. This has absolutely been an incredible experience, and oh my God, there's just so many things I did not know, and I'm like, whoa. I mean, first off, you got an album, and then I find out you play 4 instruments, and I find out you have all of these cool records. Okay, hello.
Also, I all of my music videos, I have 2 of them. I said all, it's a lot, but I did everything outside of hold the camera, pretty much. So the editing, the graphics, the everything, the album cover, I did it. I guess this is my pat myself on the back time. But yeah, there's some more fun facts about myself, I guess.
Oh my God.
All done on my iPhone. People, there's no excuses.
Okay, this is no excuse. Go check out Cosomic Hippie. I mean, I can't even say this enough. Okay, 1-man band, production, the list just goes on and on and on. Absolutely incredible. Where could people find you? Where could people get lost in this trip?
So anywhere, I'm on just about every social media. Just search Cosomic Hippie. You have to misspell cosmic, so you'll put an extra O, so it'll be COSOMIC Hippie. YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and I'm working on a website. So if y'all stay in touch, y'all will be there for all of that.
Website. Okay, I love websites. All right, this is very exciting. But I will definitely leave the social links in the description, so you'll be able to check out this incredible artist. Oh my fucking God, this is absolutely amazing. And if you love the show, leave a follow, give a like, and subscribe, whatever the fuck you kids do these generation. I don't even care. Anyway, you can find us on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at Lost in the Groove Pod. And be sure to check out the next episode soon. Bye, everybody.